Put a dress on your sister because we about to do that thing. Come on. Come with me, boy. Come on now. Come get that. Come touch daddy while come touch daddy. He doing that donkey dance. I kind of ruined it there, man. I don't have any rhythm. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got any rhythm. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to bring some for you today. Welcome to This Past Weekend. Thank you guys for being here with me. And it is Monday, February 26 in the year 2018. And you know what? I'll say this, man. This leap year. Some people don't want to think it's leap year. Guess what? It is leap year, you ignoramus. It's damn leap year, dude. So, do you have to pay rent this month? You ain't getting 30 days, bruh. You know what I'm saying? You could short that check a little. If the landlord want to take it up with somebody, take it up with the Lord. You could take that up with the Lord. Oh, this rent's coming in about $38 light? Well, you could take that up with the galactic powers. Okay? Mama didn't make the hemispheres, you know? I'm just balancing this checkbook. And it say that the galaxy shorted me about 48 hours of life this month. So if you think I'm paying you that full month rent, that's not a fact, Jack. You making an assumption. You're making an assumption. Thank you guys for joining me on this past weekend, man. Sometimes I just got to make sounds because, you know, I'll tell you, this episode, I'll break it down right there. What's going on? We're going to talk a little bit about, we had a caller call in about people's, you know, a lot of people are doing this new, you know, kind of this new body delicacy out there where they eating ass, you know, snacking on each other's butts and everything. And I know that's, you know, it's Monday morning. Maybe people don't want to listen about that or talk about that, but that's something that's going on. And is that a dark art? Is that not a dark art? Is that just Mother Nature? Is that the way things are going? We're going to discuss that briefly. I'm going to get into that Griffin, man. They had that Griffin Mike Perry fight. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was a real male fiasco. That was a real male fiasco, man. And I saw two twins. I grew up around two twins that hated each other. And, man, they would fight. I mean, they wanted to be the only one. You talk about a last man standing match. You talk about a King of the Ring, a Royal Rumble that lasted. I mean, these dudes, I saw these boys for 7 years and all they did was fight. Try to kill each other. It was like that. You ever seen that old game show called Spy versus Spy? It was like a computer game, video game. That's what it is. It was a video game. And you had two, you know, like little, I think they were muskrats or something. And they were dressed up in top hats. And they did not enjoy each other's company. And they would try to kill each other. And that was the whole video game. And these twins were like that. And that reminded me a little bit of, you know, just watching these men out there in this cage fighting. Then we're going to get into a little bit about, we're going to talk about a little bit of news. We got a couple of news topics in. You know, a little bit of life. We're talking about marriage, relationships. I went to the San Fernando Valley Fair this weekend. So, you know what I'm saying? Vialos. I tapped into my Nicaraguan roots, tapped into my Latino side. I was out there, bro, you know. I mean, saw some donkeys. I saw the world's smallest horse. Have you seen him? I have. His name's Tom Thumb. And it's $2 to see him. And I saw that world's smallest horse. And some people saying, you're like, oh, a pony? No, not a pony, you idiot. I'm talking about the world's smallest horse, Tom Thumb. And I made that investment $2, and I saw him. And so that's what happened with my past weekend. We're about to get into yours. But one more time, let's hit that funky beat from, this came in from Brad Levine. Thank you. It's today, baby. It's the only today they ever make. It's the only today they make is this one. They're not making this one again. Sometimes people say, well, I don't ever have anything that's special, you know? I don't ever have any rare goods. Well, you have today. That's the rarest good they make. This is the only thing that is it's as original as can be. It's really the only original thing going on is today. That's it. That's the only original thing going on. That's Brad Levine right there who sent in that music a while back, and I love that beat. And that thing, you know, it got my nuts kind of tightened up and feeling wild. And it's got got my body feeling good. Got my back waxed last week by this beautiful little Polish girl. And man, some of those hairs, she pulls them like, you're like, damn, boy. Some of those things, I think they were hooked into my spine, you know? Just cure scoliosis. They just rip that thing up, and suddenly your scurvy is healed up. And and where I'm from, I grew up where, you remember when they used to have the thing at school where you would do the scurvy test. And they'd come over and they'd get you all in the line, and they'd stand you one after the other. And then you'd have to bend over. And then somebody would rub their hand. And when I really think about this, it's really, for a little bit it's erotic, but it's also they wouldn't allow this these days because everybody's a real piece of shit. But whoever, the instructor or somebody who knew about scurvy or scoliosis, would take their hand and just rub it up your spine. And I remember as I got older, as I hit about 6th grade, dude, I think I might have even, sprayed out once when they were just testing me for scoliosis because I was, I had that. There wasn't much room between that skeet inside of me and whatever was going on in the outside world. I remember one time somebody scared me really bad and I just came on myself because I've always had wild nerves and heavy nerves, thick with nerves. I think if you looked inside of me, a lot of people have a lot of veins in them and, different, bones, bone structure, skeleton. And I know we're all operating on the same running operating system or the skeleton. I know we all have the same basic template inside of us. But, I think everybody's a little different in there. And I think, I've always had, small lungs. And that's what the doctor told me. I had small rib cage. I had the ribs, the torso, the inner torso, the skeletal torso of a large cat. And I remember our family doctor telling me that when I was young. And I've always, I remember getting scared once and just put my penis and balls just kind of, just ejaculated into my pants. And that was just, that's just me growing up. And part of that is growing pains and just being young and feeling the vibrant energy of being youthful. But, I was always right there. It was always just one quick touch was going to get me to pop off. Some people, it's that, when it comes to, sex, there's a lot of different, special tactics and common sutra, a lot of, foreplay or vibrant fucking outdoors or whatever gets you, whatever gets your marbles to spin. But for me, it was just, I needed a surprise moment. And that's what would really get me, like if I was fucking a girl and she told me a ghost story, I'd come in a heartbeat. And that's just how I am. That's everybody's body reacts differently to the environment. But yeah, I remember that scoliosis test, man. It was, that thing it would turn you on a little bit. Because first of all, they'd have a couple ladies come from the doctor, or whatever, the doctor, local hospital or whatever. And you didn't know these ladies. These were some fresh ladies. And yeah, you're just a kid, but you're at that age that, like with hitting puberty, it's like when you hit puberty, man, it's like one day you're at school, you're playing soccer. You're playing soccer and you're wearing, 2 tank tops and I remember for a little bit when I was young, my mom used to sell hats. She got in, my mother was a newspaper delivery woman and delivered all types of stuff when I was growing up. She delivered cookies. She delivered, sales. She was, just delivering, small things, gas stations, all of that. They used to have these News on Wheels magazines. And you look through the magazine and they got all the local trucks and cars and, a lot of piece of shit vehicles you could get. Anywhere from about $800 to maybe about, $20,000. They had everything in there. Boats, fucking televisions that could float. They had everything in the magazine. And on the front of the magazine, they'd have a hot chick laying out, a piece of tits out there. And my mother would take the magazines and deliver them out and, put them at all the gas stations and the time savers. Down in Louisiana, they have a place now, it's called Easy Serve. But before that, it used to be a place called Time Saver. And in your neighborhood, it might be a Quickie Mart or a BP or a Conoco. Or it was just one of the gas stations that had. They didn't just have gas. They were running for some extras in there. If you went inside, you could get some extras. You could get some Band-Aids if somebody was bleeding. So you could get gas and heal your friend up. You could get some ointment, some, special salve for your skin. You could get a Frosty. You could get one of those snow cone kind of icies. They used to call them icy. Get an icy. And other people called them, I don't know what they called them in different cities or towns. But we called them they called them ices. And they had different flavors, Coke, Coca-Cola. They had blue, whatever the fuck that one was, dude. That one just made your whole face blue. Made everybody want to beat the fuck out of you, bruh. Because if you had that blue mouth, dude, if you showed up with that blue, like the toughest dude sometime would eat a icy or eat a freezy or whatever, and he'd have all blue around his mouth, and you'd be like, look at this little bitch right here. Ah, fuck this dude. It could be the toughest dude. It just put him in a different mindset for you all of a sudden. You're like, I'll beat this fucking Azul asshole right here. I'll beat this Smurf. This dude look like he been, eating Smurf ass. And I'll beat him right now. And that was something that, but anyhow, that was the gas station, and the gas station had a little bit, these was gas stations that had a little bit extra at them. And these were called time savers. Man, I can't even remember what we're talking about. Jesus. Okay, we came in, we're talking about, shit. Man. Dude, you ever been lost before? Have you ever been lost? You know what I'm saying? You're like lost, like you're in a building, you're like, did I come in this way or that way? That's how it is, man, in my head, man. When I start talking, I'm like, fuck. I should have taken breadcrumbs, through this conversation because I don't know where I'm at. Oh, I know what we're talking about. We're talking about puberty, hitting puberty, man. Because once you hit that puberty, man, everything was different. You had one day where you go to school and you're, my mother, now I know, because my mother, she also sold these hats. And they had, this kind of, I guess it was I don't know if it was after something, maybe it might have been Cinco de Mayo or something, but they had a big, they had a bunch of hats. People wanted Mexican hats. Sombreros. People wanted sombreros. And sombrero, let's be honest, dude, it's a Mexican hat. We don't have to lie about it or pretend it's not. And people wanted sombreros. And so my mother was delivering all these sombreros. And we used to wear some of the shit my mom would have to give to the gas stations or to sell at these gas stations. So a lot of times you'd see me at school and I'm wearing these gas station hats, And it would say, if this truck's a rockin', don't come a knockin', and have like a big 18-wheeler cab on the front of it, Or I'd have a t-shirt on that said like Kenny Loggins or something, some kind of bullshit, or like a bunch of just, I dressed in a lot of gas station attire because my mom would have extras. Because sometimes, in addition, if she's already going to these gas stations to deliver these magazines, other companies would come on board and sometimes she would drop off other stuff over there. Different, doodads and whatnots and fucking whistles and who knows what. They even plugged tobacco, I remember we had for a while. Gunpowder. Somebody was trying to, start gunpowder back up. Anyhow, so, I remember for a while my mama had these sombreros. And we had she had an extra case of sombreros or whatever in the car. And so we got a hold of them. And so next thing you know, we're wearing sombreros, for a couple months. And it was also, in Louisiana, it rains a lot. So a nice hat, keep that water off your face. It's hard to think when water's running down your face, So that's why a lot of people make poor choices while they're drowning. And it's why a lot of people, you don't see a lot of scientists working outdoors, in severe conditions. It's more of an indoor sport, science, because it's hard to think when you have the elements on your skin, on your face, running across your face, water. And anyway, I'm getting lost here, but what I'm saying is that we had these sombreros, so we would wear the sombreros to school. And I remember, there comes a time when you hit that puberty where you go from dressing like whatever, wearing sombreros, extra backpacks, anything, to the day whenever you start to realize that women are alive. And that next day, boy, I remember we had these little soaps that somebody had gotten from a Howard Johnson motel. Dude, I remember the first time I learned about deodorant, I didn't have any deodorant. I was still a kid, and I was like, fuck. All these chicks know I don't have deodorant. So I would put those little soaps, hold them under my arms all day. So basically press my arms against my rib cage and walk around just all short arming it. Dude, I look like a maitre d' that had nothing to offer. I look like a waiter that had nothing for you. Because I'm just walking around. I have to keep my arms by the side of my body, at least down to my elbows, to hold the soap under my arms. And then the rest of my arm could come up. But, it looked like a penguin who was trying to start shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, but what I'm saying is once you hit that puberty, you start flaring up. And things change. One day you're on the playground, you're looking to play soccer, and the next day you come to school and you're looking to play your tongue across some young nipples or in a playground yard. And that's nature. Nowadays that would be harassment. Nowadays soon they're going to make kids go be in a special cage when they go through puberty. You saying a kid can't, sprout out naturally because what's happening to him? What's happening to him is he's his body's morphing out. His body's morphing out into a sexual being, and there's nothing wrong with it. And soon they're going to make you be in a special cage. They're going to have a special cage at school or down at the police station because, going through puberty is going to be a crime. Watch. Going through puberty is going to be a crime. Anyway, I didn't mean to get flared up about that. But what I'm saying is these ladies would come to school and they would touch your spine. And you didn't know these ladies. And you had just gotten, when you start thinking about sex and you're young, you get that. It's like, somebody just put a hit of acid inside of your dick. And your penis just starts seeing colors and thinking about the future. And that's what would happen, man. And so I remember these ladies would come to check us for scoliosis, and I'd be erect, man. I'd say, I think I got it. They'd be like, nah, you don't have it. I'd be like, I think you got to check again. Get Janet over here to check at the same time. I'm trying to, I'm trying to get this 6th grade threesome going. I'm trying to have 2 ladies rubbing on my spine at the same time. But I remember that was a crazy time, man, when you get your back checked out at school and you would know if you had scoliosis or if you had some kind of spine impingement. But yeah, when you get that back waxed, I think this lady pulled something out of, my posture has been better since she took this one rip. And they do these little rips right around by your panty line. Right by that male panty line, where they got that hair so delicate right there. My goodness. It's like, what farmer grew these little baby rabbits? That hair right around your panty line is so soft. It's just such the softest hair. And it's almost dangerous to even have, I feel like. But yeah, so I got my back waxed. And I'm feeling good. Actually, I wasn't. I'm feeling stressed because I'm trying to not smoke. So I'm on day 2. And you know what I start to hate is I've done this a million times. A million times I've been like, I'm going to quit smoking. And look, I'm not smoking all day. Like, I will go all day and not smoke. And then the end of the night will come and I want to act out or do something. And instead of doing something that's really going to get me into trouble, breaking something out, shooting out some glass or something with a gun or something like that, or doing something wild, throwing limes at, people in the park or whatever, that kind of shit. I'll just smoke, do something. I just want to do something. So I'll make it through the whole day. I'm good. In the past 4 days, I probably have 4 cigarettes. But yesterday I didn't have any. Today I didn't have any. So we'll see, man. I kind of don't even feel like bringing it up anymore because I'm just tired of even saying it. But my problem is with smoking, I can't enjoy it. I would just smoke regular. I'd have a cigarette at night if I wanted to, if I could enjoy it. But that's where my problem is. My brain will not let me enjoy a cigarette. My brain just will not let me enjoy a cigarette. My brain wants to, bother me about it the whole time I'm smoking. Why are you smoking, man? Why are you smoking, dude? So I would rather almost just get to a place where I can enjoy it once in a while. Our forefathers used to smoke. You know what I'm saying? If you look at old drawings and shit, I remember I found some drawings one time from probably the 1930s or something. Everybody in the motherfuckers smoking. So it was probably fun. Because if you're drawing somebody and you're going to take a whole bit of extra time to draw them smoking cigarettes, that's if you're drawing them having a pastime and taking that time to actually draw that seemed like they're probably, they're enjoying themselves. But yeah, I went out to the casino this weekend. What else? I was out in the casino out in Indio, California. I want to thank some people that came out this weekend. Some cool cats came through, man. My boy Steven. Some dude that looked like my brother. Some dude had, this young lady came out. Jessica, I think was her name. And I'm sorry if I got it wrong. But she gave me one of these little like globe things you could squeeze. Those things that take stress off. And this is what she said to me. She said, look, I know you have a problem sometime with the masturbation. So instead of touching yourself, if you feel like you got to squeeze something, you could go squeeze this. I thought that was pretty funny. That was nice of her. But yeah, we had a nice group that came out. And everybody had a blast, man. Everybody had a blast. We made the most of it. It was, casinos are different because, half the people are there bought tickets because they're fans, they're friends, they want to have fun. They know you, they're invested in what's going on. Some of the people are just been gambling and they can't take it anymore. Some people are up, some people are down. Some men are out there with hookers. You got that a little bit. So we had a little bit of everything, and I like that. I'll perform for hookers. I'll perform for anybody. And so I feel like everybody came through and had a good time out there in Indio. And I went to that fair. I went to that San Fernando Valley fair. And I'm going to put a video up on Patreon about it. But if you haven't been to the fair, let me tell you this, they had the world's smallest horse, and so he was there. And they also had a petting zoo. So right there, boy, it's... that petting zoo almost takes you back to that scoliosis check. You touching them animals and you saying, man, this one, he got a bent spine a little. This one need a few oranges over here. You sneaking some vitamin C in and giving it to him. But they had beautiful animals. We saw an animal, this one animal, doing feces out of his buttocks. And it was an exemplary. It was exemplary. But that was a blast, man. I went through there. I was out there with Peter Banichowski, Raul D, and we got it done out there in the desert. I want to thank you, you beautiful freaks that came out. You beautiful freaks that came out. I watched that Max Griffin fight. I watched that Max Griffin and Mike Perry fight. And first I noticed, Mike Perry, 6 years younger than Max Griffin. Max Payne Griffin. And you got to think that's kind of, you don't think a lot of times about age being a huge factor, but that means that Max Griffin has had, that's 365, 6 years? That's 2,000 more days of training that Max Griffin has had. And I know there's that, there's that other side of the coin where if somebody gets too old, they start to deteriorate. But I think you're still on that anteriorate. You're still heading uphill. So he's had 2,000 more days to train, to eat, to try out different vitamins, to do whatever, he's had 2,000 more days. But, this was an exciting fight. I think people were excited. This is the fourth fight I ever watched, maybe, or fifth fight. But, they try to pull each other's pants down at the body ceremony. Because in the beginning, if you're new to MMA kickboxing, there is a body ceremony where they meet up and look at each other's bodies and do the scale and everything. And Mike Perry tried to pull down the other man's pants. And I thought it was funny. I watched it. I just thought it was funny. Because it is nice to see something a little bit out of the norm in this thing, I mean, it's, it's like Rome. It's like, these are our gladiators. And sometimes one of your gladiators is going to have more of a sense of humor than the other. And also these men respect each other. It just seemed like a funny thing to me. Some people, say different things about it. But I like the tattoos. They had some good tattoos. Both the men had some, make a squid jealous, a lot of hot ink out there. You got your boy Perry has that cross and goes into some tribal work on his arms. It says God's gift over his navel. And I don't know if that means he won, if he won a belly button contest or if he's talking about his genitalia or what. But then the other man, Mr. Max Griffin, he has only God can judge me up here on his clavicle. He's got that clavicle stamp, that clamp stamp. And he, and I guess, he only wants God to judge him, and that's what he thinks. But it ended up being actually that the fight went to decision. So, the judges actually judged him and judged everybody. But I thought it was a good fight, man. I mean, I'll say this. Mike Perry scares me, bro, because he has that violent white dude in him. Mike Perry has that violent white dude. Everybody knows this guy. He's like, you ever been over to somebody's house? If you grew up in a poor neighborhood or something, you've been over to somebody's house where they have a wild dog. They got a pit bull. And when you get to the gate, you say, do you put him up? Put him up. And they'll say, oh, he's up. He's up. No, he ain't up. Put him up. And that's that pit bull dog. If somebody owns a pit bull dog, you make them put him up before you come in the front gate. And that's Mike Perry. He's that pit bull dog. You just don't know what he's going to do. He's that wild. He's just, he's aggressive and he's energetic and you just don't know what he's going to do. But the fight was good, man. Max Griffin looked taller to me. And I don't know if it was some of the camera angles they were using, but Max Griffin probably looked, 4 inches taller to me. And he looked longer. He got longer arms and legs. So I don't know who did the height. Maybe they used different rulers for the different heights. But it seemed like Max Payne Griffin had longer extremities. And it seemed like right out of the gate, you got Mike Perry comes in with a high kick. Highest kick I saw him do the whole time. And if Max Griffin would have had a hat on, a top hat, he would have kicked it right off his head. But he just missed him, and he came in with that high kick out of the gate. And then Griffin, like 30 seconds into the fight, Griffin hits Payne, and you can see he get that blood in him. He get that blood on his head. And that body lava starts to flow out a little, and I respect that, Perry didn't touch it. Some guy, if you touch that cut, then you start to spread the blood around and you're just adding to, you're adding to that fiasco. He didn't touch it. He just let it flow, just let it drip, drip, drop right out of his, brain cranium. And, I respected that. And he kept going. I mean, he didn't even... And I don't know if Perry noticed it or not. He was in such a zone. I mean, when you're watching Mike Perry fight, man, it's almost like he's fighting in a hallway, if that makes any sense. It's like he's just in this one zone. Where Max Griffin, it's a little bit more like, like the lens, like he's fighting with more of a panoramic lens. Like he's, a little bit wider. like he's kind of seeing everything, whereas Perry is just so focused in. And at the end of the first round, they go to the mat. And this is when I was like, oh man, Perry, at the very end of the first round, Perry is on top of Griffin. And I thought, if this thing goes 20 seconds more, it could be a wrap. It could be a wrap. I was like, it could be a wrap. Because Perry there's just so much propensity for violence in him. You just don't know what's going to happen. At any second, you didn't know what was going to happen with Perry. It's almost like a pack of matches. You ever had a pack of matches in your backpack? And you see them in there and you're like, oh, I should take these out because who knows? I'll put my backpack down or set it somewhere or I checked luggage or something. It could start a fucking fire at any moment. That's Mike Perry. Mike Perry is he's a pack of matches in a check bag. You're like, I don't know if I should leave this in here because at any moment it could start a fire. He's just at any moment, he should almost have a tattoo on the back that just says flammable, peligroso, just anything could happen with him. But his stance, everything, he don't have that long reach in his legs. He got them little, he kicks kind of like it's almost like a guy in a wheelchair who likes to kick people. He can only kick so far because he have that, them tiny kicks. And I'm not saying the guy wouldn't kick the fuck out of me. This dude could kick my head off of my neck and probably get a hole in one from 170 yards. But he got them, wheelchair kicks. And then you got fucking Griffin out there. And this dude he got ankles. How many ankles does Griffin have? Because his legs, he got that. It's like he's got ankles in his skin, and he's got 360-degree ankles. He don't even have knees. It just seemed like he had big ankles in the middle of his legs. He just had that much fluidity. He's just that fluid. And then when round two started, you got Perry looks a little bit more. He looked a little winded, I thought. The adrenaline kind of boils off there after that first round. And at the beginning of the second round, I feel like you can see kind of what's starting to go on out here. There's not that that crazy tension. Almost the fight even looks a little different. It just looks a little bit, it almost looks like there's some sweat on the lens of the camera. There's just, it's just a little bit more, things have kind of settled in a little bit more. And Perry has his coaches in his corner, they're yelling for him. And it's his, one of his he's got his ladies, his training partner, and she's ride or die. I don't know if you've seen their YouTube channel. I'll put a link to it at the bottom of mine in this episode. But, this is ride or die lady. They train together. She could whoop my ass. This lady could whoop some ass. I feel bad for their kids. If they ever have children and the children misbehave, somebody getting their ass whooped. But you got the ladies and the coaches over there, and they're yelling at Perry to get him against the cage, get him against the cage. But Griffin, he's just so poised throughout that you can see his plan. Like he has a plan the whole time. And you can't get him against Griffin's like diarrhea. And I don't mean that. He just, you don't know where he is. You can see, he's kind of bubbles up here, he bubbles up there, and he's here, he's there, and then bam, he's the shit. And he'll fucking knock you out. And that's kind of how it seemed. You couldn't really contain him, and then bam, he's the shit. And he'll knock you out. And at the middle of the second round, I start to see him get a little bit winded. They're both starting to seem a little bit winded. And Perry's bleeding. Bleeding, dude. I'm talking second day flow. Perry is it's heavy. If I had this, I'd already be at the hospital. If I had even half of what is coming out of his head, a little bit, I'd be at the hospital. So I commend him. The guy's a man. I would be at the hospital. I'd already have probably filled out a will. I'd have tried to get my family members to donate blood. That's how I can't handle that. And then Griffin brings him down with a combo. And I thought that this could be the end of it. But the bell rings, and then and that's the end of the second round for these guys. And when the bell rings, you have to go do your own thing for like a minute. And I don't know why they do that really, but I guess they want you to think about what's just occurred. And maybe if you have some issues or some feelings you want to get rid of or shed some, feelings or say something to a friend or text a friend, then you can do that. But then they come back out for the third round. And you start to feel like Griffin has this one in the bag. You start to feel like Griffin has this one in the bag at the start of the third round. They're both winded. But then out of nowhere, Perry hits him with that snow glober. And that snow glober, that's when somebody hits you and suddenly, the weather changes and you don't know what season it is for a second. He just hit him with that right, and suddenly it was a little bit of, it was a 30% chance of freaking, of cold dandruff. And it might have been Christmas Eve for Max Griffin. You don't know, for just you're like, whoa. But it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that heavy. It was just a Halloween hit. It was just a little bit of rain and some Halloween, but he still hit him with that snow glober. And that's Mike Perry. He's just those matches. You just don't know when he's going to strike or how quick it's going to end. And at this point, as the second half of this third round goes on, I'm like, damn, this thing is a war. This thing is a war. Perry climbs up him. He climbed up to the second story of Max Griffin. He tried to come in through the roof. He trying to come in through the roof of that man. Because Perry's plan, you could see, it's just to win. And look, I don't know anything about fucking fights, but I know how to watch shit and talk about what I see. And Perry, it just seemed like his plan, win the fight. That's the whole plan. Whereas it seemed like Griffin, he has more other little plans. Move this way, do the stanky leg, he had a lot of different little plans put in there. Wear him down, do this, do that. Whereas Griffin is just like, man, dude, I was nervous the whole fight. And that's what Perry does, man. He just, for some reason, for me personally, watching it, he makes me nervous. But I thought at any moment in that last minute, I thought Perry could have won it. Because Perry has this thing, he'll do anything to win. He'll do anything to win. That's just who he is. He will do anything to win. And there's nothing you can do about it. And at the very end, you could start to see where it was really getting even. And I think if that fight would have gone another 45 seconds, I wouldn't have been surprised if Mike Perry rips off one of his own arms and just beats Max Griffin to death with it. That's what I would not have been surprised. Because it was just, I got to win this fight. And, I love the fact that his hometown was on, his home state of Florida. There was a lot of respect there in the audience for him. And that's Platinum Mike Perry. And he's going to be back. He's going to be back. I would watch him fight a million more times. I think, I'm not going to tell him what to do because I don't even know anything. I was in 2 fights when I was young. And both times I pretty much got my ass beat, I think. One time I think I might have got some licks in, or at least, kind of caught this dude hard in the neck one time right there on that sugar shelf right there on that lion's lick. But anyhow, man, I'd watch these dudes fight again in a heartbeat. Great fight. Great fight. Great fight. Speaking of great things, this episode brought to you by Gray Block Pizza. And you can always get them. And they're down here. And they also have Bronx Born Pizza. And that's now up in Bend, Oregon. That'll be opening soon. So if you live up in Bend and you need a good job and you're a good employee and you're a good person, go stop in there in Gray Block. Or go stop up in there in Bronx Born Pizza and see what they're doing and see what's going on. What else? I got some new dates that are going to be added soon to the calendar. Calgary, Chicago. Those are coming on soon. I'm going to let you know right now that I will be at I'll be in New Orleans actually next weekend for a buddy's wedding. Then I'll be in Tacoma at the Tacoma Comedy Club the 15th and 16th of March. The 17th, I'll be in Spokane. I'll be at Levity Live in Oxnard, March 23rd through 25th. And then April 20th and 21st, I will be in New Jersey and Hasbrook Heights at Bananas Comedy Club. So some good stuff going on there. And I'll get you those Calgary and Chicago dates. They're not locked yet, but they'll be coming soon. Oh, and I'll be in Tampa. I'll be in Tampa as well. And that'll be April 6th and 7th there in Tampa, Florida at Rock Brothers Brewing at The Attic. That's what it's called. And all those places are available on theovon.com/tour. TOUR. What else, man? I had some final thoughts on the Florida shooting, and the tragedy. I'm sorry to even call it a shooting. It's it's sad that's how I even say it. But the tragedy in Florida, I've just been thinking a lot about it. And, everybody, because what I don't like is I don't just like seeing all the argument after. All the argument of people, a lot of, Monday morning quarterbacks sitting on their couches saying what should, what shouldn't, what we should do, what should, And I thought maybe you let the parents vote. You let the parents who have been affected by this, who have had this happen, who have had children affected by this, you let them vote on what do they think would be most helpful. Because how do we know? I mean, we can have an idea. I have my own ideas. You have your own ideas, your own thoughts, your own suggestions as to what could be more helpful. People want stricter gun laws. And some of it, the problem with a lot of laws is people find loopholes. It's like, the young fella that got the gun, apparently he bought a rifle. But, they have these high-powered guns, these AR-15s or whatever, assault rifles or whatever, and they're classified under rifle. So it's like, because when the law was made, people are thinking rifle. You know what I'm saying? That thing where you see a pheasant 600 miles away and you're trying to pop him off. But then they change the name of guns. They put a certain name. They find a loophole or whatever. I mean, bottom line is, nobody wants this kid to have this gun. Nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody wants this kid to have this gun. To have this weapon, to have this pain, to have this whatever makes him hurt or be detached. Nobody wants this kid to have this. But I was just thinking maybe so that everybody isn't yelling. You let the people who are affected by it make, then they make a law maybe in their state. They get to vote on the law, on what the thing is, that because they're the ones who are affected by it. And maybe with that, I mean, it's such a small condolence, but there would be some sense of, it would provide them, I'm not going to say a sense of closure because I'm not saying that even equates to closure, but it would provide them at least some sense of having a say-so in how maybe this doesn't happen in the future. So that was just a thought that I had, maybe let the families do it, And then I also thought maybe, for me, it's like, I think a lot about that parents can't discipline their children anymore. A lot of parents, they whooped their kids or spanked them, but a lot of parents weren't beating their kids. Now, I hear from a lot of my friends that have children. It's like they say anything to the kids. Next thing you know, the kids are threatening, child abuse and all of this. And so it's just, there's no discipline. So I wonder where does that come into effect? Where there's no discipline at all. Or there's no, like, a parent can't feel like that they could, physically discipline their kid. I'm not saying there's an answer there, but it made me think. I remember even my old ass daddy, dude, at 80 years old, that man would chase me around with a fucking belt. And if he didn't do it, my mother did it. And I got my ass whooped 20 times. Dude, I was afraid of my friends' daddies. Remember that? That was the craziest thing. You'd meet your friend and be like, damn, man, I like Brandon, but his fucking daddy, bro. And your friend's daddy was kind of a little bit allowed to beat your ass. If you were stretching out, you were stretching out and being wild. That man was allowed to hook you up with at least one pop. Nothing heavy, but at least one. Then I remember me and my buddy were soaking wet one time. For nothing crazy, probably just, he had one of those deep ass bird baths and we were poor. So we'd get up in that bitch, and we try to lay there quiet enough in that bird bath. I remember one time and we'd lay in there and he had, we'd get some fruits or something like that, or a couple sacks of Planters peanuts and lay in that bird bath and kind of put the peanuts up by like our chest, where our chest would stick out of the water. And we try to get the birds to come down and get them and be real still and quiet. And then when the birds would get on us, try and grab the bird, and it was just a little something that we did to kind of pass the time and stuff when it wasn't too hot out and when that water didn't have mosquitoes in it. Because sometimes those bird baths, at some point, that thing's just a womb for mosquitoes. There ain't no fucking birds stopping by that bitch. That thing's just like a diseased Ramada where they ain't changing the bed sheets. That's all that bird bath is. And you would see that, and you see no birds coming, and that's when you know you got to wash it out and clean it out. But we get in there, and I remember one time we came back in the house dripping wet, and he walked by his mom, and she was pissed. He kind of walked by quickly by his mom. She was pissed. We're dripping water on her clean floor, and I came by second, and I got his ass whooping. I got his ass whooping. It was supposed to be for him, but I got it. Man, she snow globed me, dude. Suddenly, it was fucking Easter. I don't care if it was November 3rd. Pop, bitch, it was Easter. You know, it was Easter, and there was a 60% chance of fucking lightning. And I remember that's just how it happened when you was a kid. You know, somebody could kind of whoop you, and I wonder if that kind of happens sometimes with kids, when nobody, you know, parents can't not beat them. You know, I use that term because it's, you know, maybe it's a humorous way to kind of, you know, he got his ass beat. But to get whooped, to get some discipline. I mean, animals, you know, people always say we should be more like animals. Fucking hamsters will eat their children if shit's getting wild. A lot of animals beat their kids. You know, if you leave a wooden spoon out in the woods and you come back the next day, there will be a mother animal somewhere whooping one of her kids' ass with it. And probably deservedly so. All right, let's take some calls, man. Let's take a couple of calls that came in this week, some wild ones. This past weekend. Okay, let's hit this hotline right here. Bang, bang.
Hey, what's up, Theo? This is Ryan Burns up here in Pleasanton, Cali.
What's up, Ryan Burns up there in Pleasanton, CA? And I've never been to Pleasanton, but that's it better be a decent place, for that's false advertising. Okay, let's hear more. Onward.
Opinion on eating ass, dude. You know? You ever eat ass?
Whoa, man, you don't have to say it twice like that in a row. You know, it's already, I heard you the first time when you did ask. And, I'm nervous to hear a little more of this call. Let's hear a little more.
Do you get your asshole eaten? See what what your schedule is with that, man.
Man, that's a wild thing to ask somebody, I feel like, isn't it? Is that the weirdest thing to ask somebody these days? If you eating ass out there? You know, look, man, I'll say this, man. I'll have a little. You know, I'll have a little. I ain't having a lot. You know, I ain't having a lot of eating ass. They didn't have it when I was a kid. You didn't have that. That wasn't a thing. You know, you could do, they had, you know, you do a little bit, maybe you try a little bit of butt sex or something fancy with your thumb every now and then. You know what I'm saying? You try, you know, you try to drop off that inner hitchhiker, but you wasn't eating it. And now that thing's a little bit more edible these days. And I think it's because they have stronger antibiotics and stuff these days. You know, but I mean, that's pink eye country, you know, it's dangerous a little bit. So I think if somebody showered up, I'll have a little bit of it. You know, but you know, you also got to monitor, you know, you got to stay on your side of the gate. You can't go licking on the other side of the fence, bruh, because that's lunchtime. And you got to G up and tighten up, and you got to be careful. You know, so I think it's definitely it's pretty French, really, to do it. I mean, you got to act pretty French. You got to be pretty fancy down there if you eating ass. You can't be all in there with your teeth out and stuff. That's dangerous, man. And you're going to get sick. So I'll have a little, you know. I mean, that's one thing. I worry about relapse, and I'm a year and a half sober. But if a lady shows up with a beautiful butthole and an 8-ball, I mean, that's my worst. That's my greatest fear and my worst fear. Because that thing will take you out, boy. That magical wink. That thing will take you out. You know? That thing will take you out. But, you know, so I'll have a little. Depends on the season, too. You know, I ain't eating that thing in the summer, bruh. I ain't eating that thing in the summer. You know, but I might have a little snack or, you know, mill around that hors d'oeuvre table. You know, late September through maybe January. Let's get on, man. Let's get into another call here. But thank you for calling there, brother. Let's get into another call here. Here we go.
Yo, what's up, Theo? It's Gio from New York.
What's up, Gio from New York? And I'm going to add me a New York date. I don't know when it's going to be just yet, but I'm going to add one before I get over there to New Jersey, maybe. Let's hear more. Thank you for calling, Gio. Onward.
I'm just calling with a question regarding marriage. Growing up, I was the oldest of 8 kids. You know, I changed a shitload of diapers in my life.
Damn, oldest of 8 kids. That's a lot. That's a lot of womb, man. Your mother's giving out that's a lot of womb work. So, much love to your mother giving birth to eight children. Onward.
I never really wanted children growing up, but I got one on the way, and I'm going to be a man and do what I got to do.
Wow, you got one on the way, huh? Congratulations, dude. That's awesome, bro. That's a blessing. It's a blessing to, be able to, have a healthy child. And let's hear more.
To raise the baby. I had a good father, had a good mother, had a good childhood, can't complain. But now this girl that I'm with, we've been together a few years now. She's always talked about she wanted to get married, married. And marriage is something that I never really saw a benefit to, I never knew what was the reason behind getting married. Yeah, you love each other, you get married. I love you. You love me. We both know we love each other. What benefit is getting married going to do for us,
Okay, so that's what you want to know. What benefit is getting married going to do for you? Okay. You both love each other. Onward.
I mean, we're going to spend all this money I'm going to spend the money on the ring. We're going to spend money on a wedding, And, my parents are divorced. Her parents are divorced. And I know more failed marriages in my life than I do successful ones, maybe. I don't know if I should pop the question just to make her happy. I mean, why we got to get the government involved?
Okay. And I appreciate that call, man. There's a lot of good points in this. You asked what benefit. And the interesting thing for me is just by listening, you kind of named one of the benefits a little bit. I'm assuming you said your parents, you said you had a good father, and I'm guessing that maybe your parents were married, and that's just a guess, so 8 children. I mean, I don't see how you I'm going to go ahead and assume they were married because, 8 children, you get married. That's a lot of children. That's damn barn work. I mean, that's in some countries, bro. Y'all could be sold off as a group for food, y'all could be auctioned off in some places with that many offspring. But what I'm saying is this: it sounds like you benefited from it. So that's, it's kind of it's a little bit of an answer for you, just answering your own thing. You asked why, and and then the first thing you mentioned was money. The costs of things. And we do that now, and it's, that's no fault of yours. That's how we are. Everything is it's all about a cost these days, Why, I got to pay for the ring, the cost. And, I was talking, there's a girl that I've been spending time with that and we were talking about this sort of thing and just talking about relationships. And I was talking to one of my good friends about this the other day. And one of the reasons I think is so that it makes it real. That's the thing. It makes it real. If you got to get a prenuptial agreement or whatever, and you're worried about some of that, or you're worried about the cost of the ring, tell your lady, look, I'm going to get you a nice ring now, and I'm going to get you a nicer ring down the road. Or talk to her about it. Share your fears. But I think because then you put some skin in the game. If you're just like, let's just see how it goes, then you could always leave. She could always leave. How deep is your love going to be able to get if one foot could always be out the door? And I'm not saying that in an accusatory way, but I know this, that if I'm not probably tied into something, will I be able to, am I going to commit to it as much? I don't know. I don't know. And I think that's what it is. It just ties you to the fire a little. It ties you to the fire. And then the kid growing up, does it matter? My parents are married. My parents weren't married. I think it does. I put on Twitter the other day, man, that, I think they should have a law that subsidizes dual parent working families. If both parents have to work, let's subsidize the family. Because I think one of the biggest problems in our country is that there's just not a family anymore. A kid goes home and it's nobody's there. And then they just make their own choices. Or, we're getting separate from each other, even as a family. And that's the scary part. Because you can get separate as as a group, as a country, as this and that. But when when that household, when there's nothing there, that nucleus, when that thing is running astray, if you don't care about your family, if we don't even build that, then what do we have? So look, it's definitely brave these days. You're going against the grain. But it sounds like you're coming from an educated place. You're already thinking about these things. Why a marriage? What makes it important? And that's a good question, man. We're going to get some more callers who are going to call in about this. And I'm going to try to do a Thursday episode on it. I had a buddy who I spoke with the other day, and he sent in a text, and I want to read that message that came in from him right here. It said, Theo, to follow up on our conversation earlier this week, I'm filing for divorce from my wife after 7 years of marriage. Pretty damn scary, but have been so unhappy in the relationship for the past several years and tried to convince myself that it was best for our young child to suck it up. I truly gave it all I had, but finally realized life was just too short to not be happy. Coming from the South, I don't have tons of friends who have gone through divorce that I can reach out to, but know that the percentage is high. Even at like 50%. Was hoping to get some positive stories from your listeners about life after divorce, especially when involving a child, regaining one's identity, finding love again, being a single parent, etc. Really appreciate it, man. And here's to finally getting some BJs again. Gang, gang. Well, and I appreciate that text that came in. And yeah, I can imagine, man. I know that my buddy's going through some of this, and I know that this person that I spoke with is going through some of this, and those are obviously a lot of his concerns. And that's, man, I can't imagine. But these things that make me scared to get into it. What makes me scared about getting in a relationship? I wrote some of it down, my fears. I'll tell you my fears right now. But if you guys have some thoughts for either one of those gentlemen right there, you can hit the hotline 985-664-9503, and we can drop some of those in regarding this scenario and this situation. Why marriage? And then once you get divorced as a single parent, if you have any real tips for navigating that. And that first blowjob's got to be exciting a little bit. It's got to be a little bit like you get an extra 4th of July in the year. But here's some of my fears, man. I was thinking about it. Marriage scares me, because you got to stay there. It's like being in an elevator and the elevator breaks and you're in there with somebody and you're like, fuck, you got to stay there until it gets fixed, and that's how that's just a fear I have. I'm not saying that's what marriage is like, but it's a fear that I have. It's just a fear of lack of, probably just having to just commit and just get through the tough times. And, it's just a fear that I have. And also I think there's a fear of, I think every man probably has a fear of not being able to, finagle with another woman or touch another woman's crotch or, just those sex thoughts that come into your brain, touch some woman's, butthole or something down in like Aruba or somewhere in some fancy location. Those are the things you have in your head. Like in my head, it's like, oh man, I don't get married. So what if I run into some hot chick, over at the, down in Pensacola and she wants me to touch her butthole for a second. Well, the truth is that's probably not going to happen. But there's some weird thing inside of my head or inside of men's heads sometimes that it puts this weird outlier out there in our thoughts. And then we just, it's not even, and then we don't act on the good possibilities in front of us because we have these weird things that we think might happen that probably never will. And even if it does, what the fuck? I'm just touching some lady's butt in Florida for a minute. And then what? Then I'm lonely. Then I'm still sitting out at the beach or trying to get an Uber or something, and I'm just back to being lonely. But those are some fears that I wrote. What else did I have? Oh, what if I fuck up in a relationship or in a marriage and I cheat or I stray or I, do look at pornography? and that's part of my marital, agreement. And so that's scary to me because it's like, you make this agreement, you make this commitment, you want to be able to honor it, and you want them to honor it. So these are just my fears. I'm trying to go through my fears. Sharing a bathroom. That's a fear I have about getting married. Dude, I haven't shared a bathroom since college, bro. Honestly. And that was hell. That was hell, man. And I just, that's my biggest fear is coming home and seeing some, couple straight turds or something in the toilet and they ain't mine. Man, that shit makes me scared, bro. And that may seem crazy, but that shit makes me scared, dude. I don't want to see somebody else's straight up turds, and I don't want somebody to see my turds. I know that sounds crazy, bro. That might sound stupid, but it makes me scared, man. If I see somebody else's turds, bro, I might be out. Sayonara, dude. And I know that's something wrong with me. I know it's not, something's fucking wrong with me. But I'm just saying, these are some of my just weird fears that I have. And then I think one of my biggest fears is probably just that, that I don't want to create probably the same, like create a childhood for a child that's similar to my childhood, that I guess I would fear that I create like a shitty childhood for a kid. And I think that maybe sometimes I can't access that fear as much, but I definitely think about that. I definitely think about that as being, probably something inside of me that, probably scares me a lot. And now some shitty childhood is good. I think I just don't want to, I wouldn't want to create a childhood where a kid feels unloved. Because shitty, look, I don't care if that kid, if he's got 2 tank tops in the winter, son, gang, bro, that's how you're living. If we eating macaroni 361 days a year, boy, then that's what we eat. That's okay. I don't care if we have the struggle, but I don't want, just to fuck up somehow and create an environment where a kid feels unloved. So I think that those are some of my fears. Now, some of my excitements, I was thinking about this, some of my excitements when it comes to, marriage and relationship would be coming home and having a loving family in the house, and coming home and having like a loving family, that I'm welcome to be a part of, and it's not like you come in and you start hugging people and people are like, who the fuck are you? Like you're somebody that broke into somebody's house. It's like a family that's your own family and they care about you and everything and you're allowed to come inside and love them. So that's some excitement. Also, I was talking to some friends about this week, and one of my buddies was saying, don't future trip. Try not to future trip. Because sometimes when I think about those sorts of things, I put up, I stack everything into the equation. Like, okay, I got, like if I, first I get married and then it's not, then I start thinking, well, what if, now I got a family, now I got a house and, what if there's a divorce and what if and next thing you know, it's 40 years later and I'm out on like a catamaran living in a fucking, marina or something because it's all I got left because all my money's with the wife and the children, and then it's just this crazy, I'm out there looking for, maybe researching, looking for treasure and just stupid shit, buying metal detectors and stuff. And the truth is that, not even the first thing has happened, but already I've taken myself out of, possibly doing something because I'm future tripping so much. And that's something that's gonna, that I notice sometimes that I'll do. And another thing about, another thing I was thinking about is, when it comes to finding somebody is just, try not to be too picky. I start to notice that with my friends. We have so much access and everything to, to other people and so much, and when you have access to other people and you see so many other people and how other people look and everything with so much advertisement and magazines and videos and everything, you're more likely to compare kind of what's in front of you to all these other sensationalized and heightened things. And we just gotta, I know that I gotta be careful about that kind of stuff, because the truth is, if I'm judging somebody on, something little, dude, trust me, I know I'm showing up with 9 little things. Nobody got more little things wrong with them than me. So those are some things, I guess, that I've been thinking about when it comes to, like, marriages and relationships. We got a couple more calls that came in here, so I'm gonna get into some of those right now. Here we go.
Hi, this is Hannah from Orange County.
Hey, Hannah from Orange County. Let's hear more.
I'm calling because I feel like in my home with me and my boyfriend, we've been living together for about a year. I feel like I do most of the laundry, the cooking, the grocery shopping.
Well, it definitely sounds unfortunate for you, but if I'm that dude, that sounds awesome. Let's hear more.
It wasn't necessarily spoken about. Like, he didn't say, oh, that's your job in the house. It was just more something that just happened. And I realized that even though women are expected to go out and make a living as well as the man, the household duties really haven't been split up evenly. What do you think about that?
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks for the question. What do I think about that? The household duties haven't been split up equally? Well, I don't think that both parents should have to work, ideally. So it'd be nice, and I know that that's just, you're like, well, Theo, that's a pipe dream. Both parents have to work. That's the actuality. Well, yeah, that is probably the actuality, but I think it'd be probably better, if you get to, like, if you're talking about a real household where you have children, where you could get to a point where maybe somebody doesn't have to, even if you're making less money. I mean, it might be tougher to survive. And I'm coming from a place where I don't know. I haven't had that experience yet. But as far as dividing them up, I think somebody got to do them. Maybe you take some turns. I find that if we get HelloFresh or something like that and make that together for dinner, that's usually pretty fun. As far as, laundry and stuff like that, I like the smell of Downy softener, and I like the little bear that's on there. What is that Downy bear's name? Let me look. The Downy softener bear. I think they have a different one for different countries. I think the Mexican one is Umberto, I think. Downy softener bear name. Let me see what his name was. The Snuggle Bear. Sorry. His name's Snuggle Bear. And I think they have, in different ones, different countries, you get different names. But I like the Snuggle Bear, so I don't mind doing a little bit of laundry. But as far as dividing them up, I think that's just different in different households. Some people will love being a homemaker. And some people love going out to work. If both y'all like to work, then I think at that point you probably hopefully have a little bit of extra money. We could hire somebody to do some of that homemaking, do your laundry. I like getting my laundry, because when you do that, you're creating a job for somebody else too. I like my laundry. I like to fold my shit up into different shapes, I like to do that, fold a shirt up into a fucking swan if I can. And there's different YouTube videos you can watch to learn how to do all of that. So I guess, I like that sort of thing. But yeah, there's no big rules dividing up household duties. But at least now there's no rules. I'm sure back in the day, women felt like they had to do it. I know that probably like in the 50s and 60s, men were out there, going to work and drinking, just drunk driving. And that's pretty much men's responsibilities. And then women were, taking care of the family and taking care of the home. But I think it'd be nice if we could find, I don't care what parents at home, but if somebody could be at home to help out more. And maybe that's a luxury these days. But how do we get to the point where that's a luxury? Like, it just seems crazy. And maybe I don't know historically what happened. But how do we get to the point where everybody has to fucking work? Like, what happened? Maybe I'm ignorant. I must be, because I don't know the answer to that. What else? Let's take one more call right here. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My name's Kevin. I'm calling in because I feel like I'm being forced to practice the dark arts in my relationship, and I don't really know what to do.
All right. Tell us more, Kevin. Thanks for calling.
Basically, what's going on is I've been wanting to date this girl for years, and
sounds a little stalkery, but also just sounds maybe hopeful. Let's hear more.
last year she told me that she had genital herpes, and really aside from that, we've had like a couple ups and downs in the past, but I still know I want to be with her. We recently started dating. We're both in our 20s, and she's really attractive, and she's amazing with my daughter. And
okay, so you got this lady, she got that GH. She got that genital herpes. And look, they say, I read somewhere that 70% of people have genital herpes and they don't even know it. I mean, also could have just been a friend of mine wrote that on a piece of paper and sent it to me. But I did read that somewhere. But I mean, look, man, some people don't even know they have it. You know, I had a buddy, his neck used to get all speckled out, and he said he had freckles. And I'm like, dude, you don't have freckles, bro. You have herpes, dude. Freckles are like little bitty spots on your face that look like cinnamon, a little bit like somebody, you know, kind of beat you with a hard cinnamon or beat you with like a sack of cinnamon in the face. I said, you got herpes, bro. Because I used to have one buddy, he used to just wear a scarf around his neck full year. He used a 365-day-a-year scarf. And he was just hiding herpes. But he didn't know he didn't have any medicine. So these things would get flared up. You take that scarf off and it would just smell strong. Smell like somebody was just, you know, building a cheese. Somebody just making a queso dip behind his scarf. And so you got to be careful. But what do you do? Let's hear a little bit more on this one. Onward.
And they absolutely love each other.
Okay, so she loves your family. She fits in. She's got that GH. Y'all are already dating. What's the issue?
The only thing is I've noticed in the past 2 months that we've been dating is that she really doesn't have any sex drive. When we do have sex, it's like maybe once a week, if that. And even when we do have sex, she comes within 5 minutes and rolls over and says, yeah, we're done.
Oh, that's my old trick right there. Let's hear more.
So I don't even get mine. I have a super high sex drive, and since she never wants to have sex, I found myself visiting the dark arts and masturbating pretty much every day, sometimes even 2 to 3 times a day.
Man, that's wild. 2 to 3 times a day? Man, that's like a eighth of a cup, bruh. What's going on, man? I appreciate you calling, man. I feel your pain on this. Let's hear more.
She told me in the past she thinks watching porn and masturbating is like a form of cheating for her. And honestly, I love this woman, and every part of our relationship is amazing aside from this one thing. So leaving her really isn't an option for me.
Okay, and it
isn't an option for me. Hey.
Okay, so leaving her isn't an option. You got she's showing up with that genital herpes, and everybody brings some kind of baggage to the situation. You know, some people hoarders. You know, some people, afraid of the dark. You know, I used to date a girl, we had to keep all the lights on in the house. So I'd have to wear like a dark mask and everything while I was trying to sleep. And some people got herpes. People got stuff. You know, that's Mother Nature. But, her sex drive is low. She doesn't want to have any sex, really. Your sex drive is high. And I think you just got to talk about it. I think you just talk to her about it. What does she think? Because here's the thing. If she doesn't feel like maybe sex, she should at least have some recommendations for you on how you can feel okay. You know, you got to at least probably try and communicate about it. Because, that's what it is. It's about communicating. And maybe just talk to her about it. I think that's, I know you're asking me, but I would just say ask her. What does she think? Because you can't be jerking off 2 or 3 times a day, man, especially if you got a kid. I mean, dude, you got a kid running around, and 3 times a day, that's probably 15 minutes a day. I mean, that's crazy, bro. You got a child, and you're out there hanging out in the driveway, hiding in a back seat or whatever, or parked around a corner, touching yourself. Get your life together, man. It sounds like you got a decent lady there. Obviously, she probably didn't want to have sex because she's gotten herpes, bro. You thought about that? Maybe, if somebody gets herpes and from sex, they're probably not going to want to have any more sex. So maybe obviously she won. When it comes to sex, she probably did what, which could be safely done. So I don't know, I don't know what the solution is, but I think just talk to her about it. Say you want a little bit of extra activity. Maybe just see if she'll sit up and watch you masturbate. That's kind of an old Polish trick, but it's something people do. That's kind of that little bit of, it's like a peeping Tom, but both y'all know each other. So you could do something sexy like that or put on a nice outfit and, maybe I don't know, maybe have her go outside and look in the window and watch you masturbate. Some people get off on the weird stuff like that. It makes people feel excited, or kind of mysterious or something. So those are just a couple ideas. You know, if you guys got any answers for some of these cats that hit this hotline, you can let me know, 985-664-9503. I got some big news. But I'm not going to share it probably till next week because I just want to make sure that everything's cool. We got to get this agreement to go through and stuff, but I'm excited. And I want to thank you guys for your support, for checking out this past weekend. And, everybody that came out in Indio, everybody that came out in Portland, everybody that came out that's going to come out in Tacoma and Spokane and everywhere. Everything's, I'm just really appreciating the love and support. I will be on, I'm going to be on a big podcast tomorrow or tonight. Whenever you watch this, it'll be tonight. I'm not going to tell you which one probably, but you'll know. But hit the hotline if you got some suggestions for any of these people, 985-664-9503, for any of our callers or texters that texted in. We had the one gentleman that texted in and said we had the one gentleman that texted in, who's going through the divorce. What's it going to be like? Any suggestions for him as a new divorced parent with a child? We had the guy that texted in, why be married at all? And then we had this person that just hit in about the herpes in the household and masturbating 3 times a day and hiding from his own wife and child. But thank you guys for your support. I'm going to get something to eat. And I got some auditions tomorrow I got to freaking practice for. So, but I love you, man. Be good to yourselves. You probably deserve it.
Celebrate living. Celebrate me.